This is propaganda live.
I only suggest how to think and how to vote.
Extraordinary cultural moment, already iconic. We love you, you're welcome here.
I almost sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's a bit late now.
They don't want to have a conversation and debate because they're lying. And this is a matter now of fact and record.
Trump is like Hitler. Let me count the ways. I'm a Nazi, actually. And I've kept it down till now, but this is my chance.
God, it's propaganda. Did you guess it? I feel that Christ may have had a better vision.
Bastards, aren't they? I mean, you can't watch too much of this without realising they're absolute bastards. Let's go full screen on Russell.
This is On Brand, a podcast where we discuss the ideas and antics of one Russell Brand. I'm Al Worth, and each week I go through an episode of Stay Free with Russell Brand in order to dissect and debunk it. And this week I'm excited to be joined once again by actor, comedian, podcaster, and man of many skills, Robert Neumark Jones. We will be looking at Russell's coverage of the news, Jordan Peterson getting his ass handed to him in a debate, the return of Tommy Robinson, and Trump's U-turn on Vladimir Putin. But before we get into that, allow me to thank a new Awakening Wonder here. So, Ellie Fitz, you are now an Awakening Wonder.
You are indeed an awakening wonder.
Thank you so much, Ellie. And Captain Bird Eyes, you are now an Awakening Wonder.
You are indeed an awakening wonder.
Thank you so very much. I must say that Patreon name has given me pause to consider just how weird the name Captain Birdseye actually is. I don't know if it's a global ubiquitous thing, but Captain Birdseye in the UK is the brand of like fish products usually, like fish fingers and the like. So thank you for that also, Captain Bird Eyes. And if anyone wants to support the show financially by becoming an Awakening Wonder, joining the Invisible Hand, or donating on an elevated tier, head to patreon.com/onbrand and sign up, and you will have my eternal gratitude, and you'll be able to access additional content as well as a completely ad-free version of the show. There's outtakes up there, there's the book club, there's music and is nice, there's more stuff incoming as well, which I'm very excited to be able to get to. But before we get to any of that, let's get into things with Robert Neumark Jones. So, here we have actor, writer, comedian, podcaster, lover, fighter, dancer. Are you much of a dancer, Rob? Are you a dancer?
I can throw some shapes.
Hey, shape thrower, Robert Neumark Jones. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
My pleasure, Al. Thank you very much for having me. Captain Al, back to steer the ship. I'm just on the ride.
First mate. So if memory serves, your pronouns are he, his, is that correct?
That is correct, thank you.
Lovely. And mine are they, them. So how are you? How have you been? How's life in the big smoke? How is everything since we last chatted? When we last spoke, you were busy leading a play and doing all kinds of stuff. How are things at the moment?
Things are good. Just had a very busy personal life. I've had 2 birthdays in a row. Not me personally. I only had one.
I was going to say, you're the queen.
I'm not allowed to have more than one. I have tried. But they won't let me. It was me, mine, then my wife's. Then Spurs won the Europa Cup, which was massive for me. 17 years since the last one. Then there was the Last of Us finale, which was terrible, obviously, which was a real shame. Then I recorded a voiceover for Hull College, and now apparently they're banning vapes. So I've got one to say goodbye. It's Vape Sunday. It's the end.
Oh, I thought it was just the disposable ones. I thought it was just the single-use ones that were going.
I only use single-use, Al. The planet can burn.
I mean, look, there is a limit to how much a single person's effects can have, you know. So there is that side of the argument,
and I'm pushing that limit. I've got a bin load of them.
Just constantly spraying hairspray and deodorant everywhere at all times.
That's right. It's the first pump's the only good one. After that, you got to throw it away and get a new one.
Yeah, just in the bin straight away. Yeah, you use once and dispose of. Yeah. I thought it was just the single use vapes. That said, like they are a thing where I'm like, you know, because they're so ubiquitous, certainly in the UK, and like they're so recent. There is a part in the back of my mind. I'm like, do we know the long-term effects of this yet? You know what I mean?
Definitely not. Definitely not. course not.
Yeah.
They aren't long term. There's no way. They're about as untested as COVID. Sorry, I'm coming in hot, aren't I?
That's a Russell adjacent argument there.
Thought I'd be on the theme.
Well, yes, yeah, on brand, as it were. Yeah, there is that part of me. Like, it's one of the things where I'm like I will occasionally enjoy a cigar, and one of the things about those is that, like, the ones I get, hand rolled, and they're exclusively made out of tobacco leaf. That's all that's in it. I'm like, I know exactly what's in that because the whole thing is just made of the same ingredient. And yes, it's carcinogenic and will likely give me some form of cancer, or will at least help in that direction. But I know what the results are. I know what the consequences are going to be.
Yeah, definitely. As opposed to ethyl butyrate, triacetin, furaninol, and linalool.
Yeah, I mean, to a science talking person, those might be completely fine. That's the thing. But to me, I'm like, that's a long list of scary sounding ingredients compared to dried tobacco leaf. Yeah. But then again, like. The kind of mass manufactured cigarettes and everything are also full of all kinds of things, including like embalming fluid and whatever else, right? So it's
definitely
it's a question of relatives, I suppose. Relative risks.
Did you have that urban legend growing up that if you got a cigarette and you dipped it in embalming fluid and then smoked it, that you'd get higher than a kite?
No, that sounds terrible.
Well, I'm not here to say that I did it or that anyone should do it. Just to be clear. That being said, I do have one right here.
And we're going to try it live. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, no, I never heard that one. That's definitely I could see it though. I could see it. Yeah, no. Just that I remember one specific lesson where we were taught, like, here's the list of ingredients that's in a mass manufactured cigarette, and I was like,
it's insane.
Oh good God. that is awful.
I know. It's literally, and then there was this might be another rumor, but apparently the tip of the cigarette has a more concentrated amount of the chemicals. So it makes it more addictive because then you have the psychological association with sparking up. Because it genuinely is a bit more strong, that first puff. So it makes you associate the sparking up with the good feeling as well.
Interesting.
Don't know if it's true either. Hey, I'm just asking questions. I'm jacking off.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Science talking people, feel free to chime in at any moment. We'll hear from the people who know better than us. That's perfectly fine.
This guy's an idiot. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, that's ultimately, we have microphones, so hey, what are you going to do? This is 2025. Idiots with microphones are what rules the waves.
They're what won the election, okay?
Good God, yeah, no kidding. Oh man, the one positive kind of piece of speculation I've seen out of this last week is that Gary Lineker might become the like Joe Rogan of the UK. I was just sat there. I was like, you know what? I'm not against it. I'm kind of fine with that. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I'm kind of fine with that. Yeah, he seems to have some good takes. I'm like, yeah.
Presumably,
sure.
They just mean in terms of media reach and popularity. They don't mean he's going to go down the right-wing rabbit hole. We're not going to lose. Yeah. Are we going to lose Gary?
I wouldn't think so, given that he's lost his job for supporting Palestine. I wouldn't think so.
It would be an odd trajectory.
That again, like, you never can tell these days, can you? That is one of the things. Everything's fucking up in the air these days. And Rogan's come to Christ. That's the new piece of news with him.
Hooray!
Yes, he's now attending church on the reg. And there is much speculation as to when the Rogan allegations are going to drop. Accordingly, they
would follow the. Yeah,
the pattern, exactly.
Nice. Do we know the denomination? Has he gone Catholic? That's what they're all doing now. Is it Catholic?
I'm not sure. I saw that he was attending a church. I'm not sure which thing it would be specifically.
I believe he was brought up Catholic because he's got like Irish Catholic roots, as far as I know. I'm sticking with Jesus.
That's the
Christian apologist. Wesley Huff. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I was
Yeah, go on.
What's a Wesley Huff?
What's a Christian apologist? It's not what I think it is it? It's like, I'm so sorry about all the things we've done in Christianity's name.
No,
that is
it's
what
the
it should
opposite.
be.
That is what it
opposite,
should
isn't
be.
it?
No, it's the opposite of that. It's the people that make as many excuses as they possibly can. So C.S. Lewis is a famous Christian apologist that Russell loves, as a for instance, who wrote essays in defense of Christianity and everything else, right? So that's a Christian apologist. Whereas, yeah, more people being like, oh, sorry for all the bad stuff we did. That would be welcomed, I think. That would be, and there are some people like that, you know. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can respect that. That's, I take the good and the bad, fine. But that's not what a Christian apologist is by any stretch.
That's a shame.
Yeah. But yeah, I've no idea which direction Rogan's gonna go.
Well,
but,
I've done a bit of research on the internet.
You've done your own
Believe
research,
that.
all right?
That's right. And the guy who's apparently turned him is a Calvinist.
Oh,
which,
that's specific.
Is very specific. I believe they're a very strict sect out of Scotland originally, if I'm not mistaken. If my theological background fails me, please let me know. But
Something like that.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think they're really strict as well.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really jive with the whole sort of free speech, smoking weed type
libertarian kind of take. Yeah, no.
I don't know how those two things go together, but
well, I think the idea is you kind of take the bits that you like and leave the bits that you don't.
And is that a direct quote from the Bible?
It might as well be. That's definitely what a lot of these people seem to do.
And lo, Jesus said to them, pick and choose what you like.
Do as you please. I don't make the rules. And that's the thing that gets me is that, like, if they were just following the actual teachings of Jesus specifically and nothing else, I'm like, they'd probably be fine. They'd be right. Like, yeah, Jesus said some cool shit, you know.
We wouldn't need the apologists, either one of them.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't need all the babies murdered and all of the floods and all of the everything, all of the many genocides in that book. You know, like, it would just be like, yeah, be nice to each other. You know, like, yeah, okay, I can take that.
It's a much shorter book.
Yes, considerably. Well, the Old Testament is like 70% or something. So yeah, Jesus's portion is already much shorter. Yeah, God. Well, we should get into the show here, and
sure.
save the theological discussions for later.
I'm sure it'll come back up.
There might be I mean, it's Russell. Well, you know, what can we do? So what I should mention is that Russell has been in court at the Old Bailey in London today.
Yes.
Friday, May 30th, as we've been recording this, because it's the very beginning of his criminal trial. Exciting stuff. One thing I do want to highlight for everyone up top is the timescale we're looking at for it, because while, yes, it is exciting that Russell has been charged with crimes and is on trial for them, the cogs of justice turn slowly. In fact, I've been looking at the judicial data from sexual criminal charges being made to the case being finished with, so from start to finish, within London specifically. And while obviously it varies from case to case, we're looking at between 400 and 600 days for this thing to be done with, most likely. And the update from Russell's appearance in court today is that he has pled not guilty to all charges, which, as expected, and his trial proper is due to begin in June 2026, so a year from now, before he actually kind of has to, you know, take the stand, etc., if he ever takes the stand at all. So essentially what we've just had are a bail hearing earlier in the month, which miraculously didn't decide he was a flight risk, and now a plea and trial preparation hearing. So, you know, hearing his plea and preparing for the trial, and then the case itself will be tackled in the Old Bailey a year from now. So there's a long way to go just yet, you know, and there's civil proceedings against him and everything that are taking forever as well, you know. So who knows where we'll be with Russell a year from now, but yeah, that's what we're looking at. It's going to be a minute.
Timestamp this, yeah. Predictions for the future. Remind me 1 year.
Yes, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. So, otherwise, Russell has, for the most part, just been continuing his usual shtick. He's not had any guests on, no David Icke yet, unfortunately.
I really hoped you were going to bring me some David Icke today.
Yeah, me too. I'm sat here waiting with the popcorn. You know, it's ready. But yeah, nothing like that. Just the usual terrible show. We're going to look at Tuesday's show from this week because the Wednesday and Thursday, Russell put up a couple of pre-recorded specials, presumably so he could travel to the UK. And by specials, what I mean is it's him and his crew sat around a table watching a QAnon quote-unquote documentary about Pizzagate and talking shit about it. It's that for nearly 3 hours total. Yeah, I might cover it, I might not. We'll see. But yeah, mercifully today we're going to be looking at Tuesday's show, which is at least marginally less rooted in bullshit. That said, we're still going to get quite a lot of bullshit. And Russell comes out of the gate here firing on all cylinders. So if you want a vibe check for the show in general this week, this clip here is a reasonable indicator.
You might be watching us on YouTube right now, which, as you know, is a globe of deception set up by the globalist deceivers themselves. So eventually you'll have to join us on Rumble. And if you don't have Rumble Premium yet, get Rumble Premium. We give you additional access to free speech content that's going to give you the armaments and armory that you require, because you are in a holy war, Neo. Whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, you are engaged in spiritual war right now. That's the reason that the world is evil. That's why the world is alive with sigils and symbols of darkness everywhere you look. Dark, deceptive powers have taken control of institutions, and rationalism and reason are continually deployed to ensure that you remain dumb and compliant. If you think everything can
Reason
be understood
is
by
keeping
mankind,
you dumb.
they've got you exactly where you want you. If you think that a human being is the supreme authority, they've got you exactly where they want you, because they'll choose the human beings that have that supreme authority. Surrender now to God.
Okay, yeah, speaking of coming in hot, surrender now to God, because you're in a holy war, Neo, whether you like it or not. Jesus
But my name
Christ.
is Robert. The thing is does it only work because he's got like a British accent in him? Because the thing is if he was down the pub, you'd be like, shut up, mate. It doesn't, it's just a load of bollocks. But I guess like with this sort of like cheeky chappy British accent, that's why he's moved to America, because they're more willing to, you know, that's how I got married to my American wife. I'm not saying I'm innocent of any of this.
It can pay dividends, yes. That is fair. That is fair. A good accent can go a long way. Absolutely. It's the presentation. It's the, you know, it's the verbosity. It's all of the rest of it. You know, it's the whole shtick. But yeah, it is absolute fucking nonsense. Because like YouTube is the globe of deception, as it's more commonly known, set up by globalist deceivers, and presumably these same globalist deceivers are the ones who also the dark deceptive powers that have taken control of institutions, one would think. And rationalism and reason are continually deployed to ensure we remain dumb and compliant. Rationalism and reason, you know, thinking are what keep us dumb and compliant. And like, here's the thing, I'm not adding anything to this. I'm just repeating what he said without the accent and the bombastic delivery, and it sounds fucking insane. Like,
yeah, you can't slip that one past me. No way. When did they take control of the institution? Is there a point you reckon Russell can point to? Because take control means that before, these institutions were held by the things that he liked.
I am interested in that, because he seems to think that like the downfall of everything in terms of Brexit was you know, around like 2015-16, but like conceptually in his mind everything must have been okay before that. You know, like, so I'm like, I am curious what he would point to as being like the areas of decline for society at large, because like previous incarnation of Russell, you know, Revolution Russell back in 2013-14 would have been like, oh, Thatcher and Reagan, and he would have been correct. But now he has to be like, oh yeah, Reagan was pretty great though, and Thatcher, well, she was a strong leader, you know. So you're like, all right, well, what is the turning point in your mind, Russell? Like, I would love to know. I get the feeling we might never get there.
It would require too much honesty.
Yeah, but then again, you know, he's like, his ideas don't necessarily have to be consistent. That's one thing that I am coming across very frequently, is like, he is more than happy to hold two opposing ideas in his brain and just run with both of them. I'm like, okay, like, there's no way for me to reasonably deal with that. But yeah, the world is alive with sigils and symbols and darkness everywhere. Alrighty then, it's hard to argue. So let's look at the first actual story that Russell covers, and I should put a warning here that there'll be a bit of discussion of domestic violence, because we're going to be looking at Emmanuel Macron getting slapped by his wife Brigitte, before Russell takes it in the predictably grim direction that the alt-right will always take it.
First of all, let's cover some of the craziness that's going on this crazy planet of the Lords that we are here just as stewards and custodians of. Let's start with a little bit of Macron. This is fantastic. You saw the moment there where Macron was bashed in the face by Brigitte Macron. She gave him thanks for that. Hello, yeah, you beautiful people. Where Brigitte Macron gave dear old Emmanuel Macron, Emmanuel, the God within, God is with us, gave him a couple of wabba-da-bap-bap-bap-bap-baps all up the chin, and Macron recoiled like that kangaroo being punched by a dog owner. Well, now we're being told by the legacy media that it's a sign of love. Well, man, the globalist establishment must really love us, because they are working very hard to destroy this movement. But how can they destroy what is powered with such divine grace? Let's get into this and see what the globalists are trying to convince us of this week.
French President Emmanuel Macron's office is trying to downplay video that apparently shows his wife Brigitte shoving his face. The video was taken early this morning as the two were preparing to leave a plane in Vietnam, the first stop for Macron's tour of Southeast Asia. A source with the president's office dismissed the video, telling CNN it was a moment of togetherness and that the president and his wife were unwinding and playfully teasing each other.
They're unwinding and playfully teasing each other, just like Ike and Tina Turner. Nothing says togetherness like domestic abuse on an aeroplane. How come Brigitte packed such a punch? That's what I want to know. Let me know in the comments and chat. Some interesting things there.
There it is. Yeah. In case anyone missed it, there's long been a transvestigation into Brigitte Macron, because the alt-right like to claim that she was born a biological male and that she's actually a trans woman. This is both transphobic and misogynistic. So naturally, Russell is fucking on board, and has trafficked the same bullshit on his show multiple times, just like they did with Michelle Obama, though that had the added tinge of racism as well, which was absolutely a factor in that one. Nonetheless, like, the most infuriating thing here to me is that for once Russell was kind of on the right track. Like, yeah, it's not as funny as you're making it out to be, bud, but like, yeah, what we're actually looking at as an example of domestic violence right in front of our eyes, with the Macrons being like, nah, it was a joke. Like, if you look at the footage, there is nothing playful about that, and then she refuses to take his hand afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, nah, that's the. I'm kind of sure that she just thought he was out of shot of any cameras, you know? Like, that's what it felt like to me.
It doesn't look playful. You could they're having a spat.
Yeah. It's not great. It's not great. And also, like, their relationship, their romantic relationship initially began when Emmanuel Macron was 15 years old and Brigitte was almost 40. So like, it's legal under French law, but holy shit, that is a child, madam. So we've got like groomer to domestic abuser kind of right in front of us, and Russell was like so nearly on the right track, and then, oh no, we've just got to insist that women are trans women because it's 2025, and like, there are so many examples of Russell ignoring legitimate grievances in order to make pretend ones as outrage bait for his audience. But like, this one takes the fucking cake, dude. I'm like, no, you can see the problem right in front of you. Just comment on the actual problem. Like, don't make things up. Just be like, that's bad, you know?
Yeah. No, instead he just dog whistles to the audience. And speaking of dog, what was that he said? Like a kangaroo being smacked by a dog owner?
Oh yeah. I think there was like a video somewhere of a kangaroo getting into a fight with a dog, and then the dog's owner like running up to the kangaroo and like punching it in the face.
Why haven't you got that clip? Al, I don't want to watch this toss pot. Let's get the kangaroo up.
Yeah. Don't remind me of things that are better and more entertaining than you, Russell. Like, for God's sake. Yeah. It's one of those, just one of those. I'm sure if you just Google it, you will be able to find the video in question. But yeah, it's very very much a dog owner intervening and trying to protect his dog. Okay, and in another piece of news, we move to the pretty upsetting incident from Liverpool the other day, where a man drove through a crowd of football fans, injuring 79 people. Funnily enough, the man who did it is also in court today. We'll get into any relevant details in just a moment, but let's hear what Russell has to say on the subject. And I should preface this by reminding everyone that Russell is a massive football fan, and had a football podcast, right? Big football guy, written football books, football articles, all the football stuff. Yeah.
Now, we talked to you some length earlier in the week about that terrible incident during the celebratory parade of Liverpool FC. Congratulations for them for winning the EPL, this time in front of an adoring Anfield, because last time they won the Premier League, it was lockdown time and no one could go to football matches for what turned out to be no fucking reason at all, because the rules were made up, the disease was leaked from a lab, it was funded by American taxpayers, and the vaccines don't work. It's all coming out now, baby. It's coming out thick and fast. Congratulations to Liverpool. Notice their obsession and focus on the race of the individual when that race cannot be used for the kind of rhetoric that leads to the rise of nationalism. Now, that we are one family. We must love one another. We must turn continually away from hate. When they have us hating, they have us in their yoke and under their control and over their dark spell. We must always find our way back to love and grace. And on our own, we will fail. On our own, we will fall into hatred because we are weak and we are broken. But if we accept our brokenness, a glorious light will come through us and we will at last be able to oppose these demonic psychopaths that have taken over the planet.
Okay, so more get with God nonsense in order to oppose the demonic psychopaths who have apparently taken over the planet. Good stuff. Again, would love a date as to when that happened.
Yeah.
That would be great. But yeah, before that, Russell was engaging in yet a bit more race baiting bullshit. Before then trying to backtrack it with no, I don't mean hate each other. When we're hating each other, they have us under their dark spell. But also, I am gonna make a big point about how the media seem to be focusing on the race of the perpetrator when it can't be used for rhetoric that leads to the rise of nationalism, which to the rest of us means that it was a white guy and therefore can't be used for racism and xenophobia.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Basically what's happened is the fact that the man's race was revealed very quickly and reported on very quickly is seen as suspicious to the alt-right because it was a white guy. It's more of the hey, they're trying to demonize the whites narrative, and what these chuckleheads seem to be intentionally ignoring is the fact that the guy's race was revealed very quickly to make sure that none of those same people went around setting fire to more hotels full of refugees.
Yeah, exactly. That's the last time this happened in the country was not far away from Liverpool, right? That was Southport is close to Liverpool. There was the shooting, or not shooting, the killing of the poor little innocent girls. And the police didn't reveal the race of the perpetrator. And all the alt-right spread Tommy Robinson, for a lot of them were well, he's a Muslim, he's an asylum seeker, he's a refugee. And then we had a weeks of riots, didn't we, in the country?
Yeah.
So clearly the police have been right, the temperature's febrile, we better put some water extinguisher on this.
Yeah. Plus, obviously in this case as well, there were thousands of people around who saw what happened. It was very, very quickly verifiable as well, so you could easily jump on that. Whereas in the isolated case, in terms of Southport, it would have been a little bit more difficult, a little bit more sketchy comparatively. But it was commented on quickly because of you fucks. You did that. It's not inconsistency within the media. It's trying to make sure you don't burn anything else down.
I know. And why can't he just leave it at this is an awful, tragic thing, and just have a moment of actual stop spouting the bullshit. Don't turn it into God. Don't turn it into political scoring points. Just be this was a tragic thing. Hopefully justice gets done. Hopefully nobody dies.
Exactly. In terms of the incident itself, the motive is unclear yet, like why the guy did what he did. But police are not treating it as a terror-related incident. I'm sure we'll know more once everything, once justice is served and all of that stuff. And obviously, I used to live just across the water from Liverpool and was there pretty regularly. So my heart goes out to those affected. Yeah. And the 79 injured, etc. Russell's heart seems to be much more concerned with racism, and the notion that he couldn't go and watch Liverpool win the league during COVID. Honestly, that's the thing I've seen him the most upset about in quite a long time. Despite the criminal charges against him, the civil suits against him, everything, that moment we just watched is probably the most genuinely animated I have seen Russell. And you can hear that, he's annoyed by vaccines and masks and whatever, but the real crux was those bastards took away my ability to attend a football match. Yes, it was still televised, but I wanted to be there, for fuck's sake.
He dropped a really hard fucking. I noticed it at the time.
Really
I was like, wow,
F, yeah.
That came from deep down, huh?
Yeah, he was livid about that one. Now, I need to ask you, Rob, are you any good at accents? Is that part of your repertoire as an actor?
Full disclosure, I can do some pretty well. I can do occasionally one very well, and lots not at all. So
fair enough.
Let's see. What do you want me to try? I'm ready. Put me in, coach.
I'm not gonna force you to perform on. I feel like that would be unfair to spring that upon you. Though by all means, I won't stop you at any point. Because I can do some reasonable accents and a lot of terrible ones. I can do okay. Russell, on the other hand, he's formerly a Hollywood actor, having been in big movies and whatnot, big productions and everything. And then my experience in general tells me that it is usually easier for British people to perform an American accent compared to an American trying to do a British accent. But most Americans, in my experience, have a tough time of it, whereas the Brits tend to be able to nail down a US accent of some description fairly quickly, comparatively. I think it's probably cultural, we get surrounded by American movies and music and whatnot, right? In any case, Russell seems to buck that trend of finding it easier. So we're going to leap into a clip of RFK Jr. being interviewed, and he gives some terrible advice, as he is wont to do, before Russell breaks out his American accent and does his best to sustain it for about a minute. Further warning, this does also go to a gross, sexually explicit place somewhere towards the end. So just so we're all prepared.
What I'm saying to you...
But I want to get back to what your comment was about that you said that people should not take your medical advice.
Yeah,
that's your position?
Yeah, absolutely. People should not be taking medical advice. I'm somebody who is not a physician, but they should also be skeptical about any medical advice. They need to do their own research. You're a mom. If you're a mom, you do your own research on your baby carriage, on your baby bottles, on your baby formula.
But they don't have medical degrees, obviously. If you're a mom and you're looking at...
Yeah, what we need is a class of experts, because there's no way that those experts could form a technocratic class that was somehow subversively funded by, e.g., Big Pharma. There's no way that Big Pharma give big donations, is there, to political parties and universities and colleges, and then provide the frame for all information. I mean, that could never happen, could it? You gotta trust the experts, because ultimately the supreme authority is human beings come together to determine systems that control people, right? Ultimately, the aim's gotta be to turn human beings into a chattel class moved around by the cattle prod of corruption and hypocrisy. That's gotta be the aim, right? You can't start relying on your own inward connection to God. You can't connect to nature yourself, can you? You should just do as you're told, shouldn't you? You should just bow down before Satan and take his luminous, scaly cock deep into your gullet and accept the injections, shouldn't you? The injections of deception delivered to you by MSNBC and CNN and all these systems of condemnation, shouldn't you? Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure I trust them.
Whew. Oh, thank God that's over.
Yeah, that was layers of awful, like a puff pastry of terrible. Just so many layers of bad. Yeah. He definitely struggles with an accent. And it is funny, if you look at any of the acting gigs he's had, that's universally the case. Like, nobody tries to get him to do an accent in the movies or shows that he's been in, because it just goes. And you can see why. You can immediately see why. Like even in Despicable Me, like the character that he played in that was basically just a slightly exaggerated and gruffer version of his own accent. Pretty much.
You can imagine they bring him in. It's day one. They're like, okay, so he's got a thick Russian accent. And he goes, "All right, mate," and they're like, maybe a little bit more Russian. "All right, mate." And
hello, governor, you got some jellied eels?
And then there's the production meeting. Should we just have him do the normal Russell voice? Yeah, we don't have the time to fuck around with it. He'll just do the normal Russell voice. Russell, what you're doing is perfect. Love the accent. Carry on.
Well, I would say that Dick Van Dyke's attempt at Cockney is actually better than Russell's attempt at American. That's what I would say. Like, you go back and watch Mary Poppins, you're like, you know what? Yeah, that is better. That is better. Anyway, if we can see past the bullshit for a moment, what Russell was actually arguing there was that the entire system of medicine, doctors and experts, have all formed a technocratic class which is subversively funded by Big Pharma, who donate all their money to political parties, universities and colleges, and provide the framework for literally all medical information. And because of that, you shouldn't trust any doctor ever and should do your own research, like RFK Jr. said. Also, you should get with God, because that needs to be repeated again. I will admit, I'm sort of fascinated by this idea that Big Pharma control literally the entirety of Western medicine, because, that takes some doing. And I can understand how, like, in the US, that idea might be more appealing, given just how fucked the healthcare system is over there, right?
This is
like,
what I was thinking.
Yeah, like you can see that, okay, that might hold some water given like how much people pay for a start, right? And how I've heard many stories of doctors being absolutely useless in the US. I've heard many stories of that sort of thing. But the argument that Russell is making does sort of ignore all of the countries where socialized medicine and healthcare exist. And there are quite a few of them, including this one where Russell is from. Like, it really is a lot harder to try and describe people working for the NHS, even the doctors and surgeons and specialists and whatever, as a technocratic class funded and brainwashed by Big Pharma. Like, most of the doctors I know in this country are tired. Mostly they're just very, very tired,
Yeah.
Like,
and then how does it square with, non-Western European healthcare systems or tiny microstate healthcare systems that don't have those same controlling interests, but all came to the same conclusion that, this is a pandemic and all cancer is bad, or there's like whatever it is. Like I'm choosing two vast different, but it just, if you analyze, if you go down granularly, even a couple of steps, the whole thing falls apart. But if you're just bombastic, broad brushstrokes, and the whole world is the USA, then I guess it kind of works. But it's just nonsense.
Yeah, and I think, like, it will work to his audience because his audience are, like, predominantly American as well, and there is a very kind of insular view, there is a predominant kind of American view that is very inward-looking and doesn't kind of look at the rest of the world in that same way. And it's like, if you can capitalize on that, then, like, the whole system around the world is fucked. Like, but you are essentially ignoring the rest of the continents is what you're doing. You're ignoring all of the doctors in Africa, India, Europe, like Asia. Like, do Australian doctors not have a say in any of this, or are they controlled by Big Pharma? It's fucking nuts. But
I mean, I've just looked up the top 5 largest US pharma firms. This is from 2023. They're $81.9 billion. Okay. To put that into perspective, the economy of the United States that year was 300 trillion. 30 trillion. So it's a drop in the bucket. There's just no way. I mean, if I looked up the defense figures, it would dwarf this. It's nothing near to this.
Yeah, and you also have like that classic thing where like conspiracies of more than like 3 people, or well, more than 2 people realistically, just immediately fall apart, because like the more people that you have involved in them, the more likely they are to be exposed and to crumble and whatever else. And so this idea that you have, you know, hundreds of thousands of people involved in this conspiracy is just like, come on, dude.
It's because they're Masons. They got the secret handshake, then they're guzzling Satan's serpentine cock for injections.
That's it. Well, Russell is the one with 33 tattooed on his arm, so you know.
Tasty.
Yeah, he's long had to argue that he is not a Freemason. The reason he apparently got the tattoo is that 33 is supposed to be the age that Jesus died, and it's also the age that he thought he would die because of the whole Messiah complex thing. So yeah, he got that tattooed on himself.
Mason.
Maybe. Okay, so from here we're going to move to a piece about some robots in China, and Russell has some concerns.
Now, some interesting tech news. China has launched its first ever humanoid robot kickboxing fight. Let's have a look at that. And people are beginning to investigate with more scrutiny the idea that we could already be deep into an AI simulacrum, i.e. materialism leads to technology. Okay. Technology is a kind of falsification of omnipresence, omnisurveillance, and ultimately dystopia could be brought about by materialism. Russell, are you writing a musical? Kind of.
用一次成功的踢腿动作获得3分。对，而且看他那个。直接把钻机小将击倒。
I don't like them. I don't like these little dickheads.
钻机小将击倒。
No, they'd be able to control us, because I'd really like to wade in there, wouldn't you, with like sort of a broom and start sort of taking real pot shots at those little guys, but they're only days away from being able to destroy us. Remember, the way that they use these robotics is they present them to us in humorous ways so we become inoculated and inured to their presence. Remember the police dogs in New York City. These lovely robo-dogs are going to help you in New York. These lovely Chinese kickboxing robots are coming to your house to clippity-clop you into compliance with a little kick in the old nutbag. That thing turns up at my house demanding that I take some sort of vaccine that's not been clinically trialed correctly beyond 8 mouses. I'm going to be really, really pissed off. Particularly if it... I mean, why is it wearing headgear? Why is it wearing headgear?
I mean, why is it wearing boxing gloves is also a valid question.
Yeah.
I think in both instances, it's cute, makes it look proper, while also minimizing scrapes to the chassis of the robots, you know? Gotta worry less about damage. Anyway, Russell's seemingly worried that these Chinese robots are only days away from being able to destroy us and may soon, in fact, be turning up to our houses demanding we take vaccines, presumably with an underlying physical threat of being kickboxed into compliance. That's where his mind's at with this, and I'm like, how many leaps did it take for you to get from that image on the screen to where you're imagining this going?
Yeah, it's 3 degrees of Kevin COVID, isn't it? And what he said something really weird that I want to pick up with you. Is that remember, this is how they introduce these things. It's like via cutesy thing, but he's using the word remember as if he's like some time traveler from the future. We're like hearkening. It's like, this is what's going to happen. What's he?
This is how Skynet is brought about.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And what's his example? Police dogs, robot police dogs.
Right. So that is a thing. That is the robot dogs thing was just a couple of robotic dogs that Mayor Eric Adams bought for the city of New York for $750,000 back in 2023, because that seems super necessary. Yeah, it's fucked up on a number of levels, honestly. But like, I think they're supposed to be like, you know, kind of detecting like threat awareness, that kind of thing. I don't fucking know. Like, the police forces in America have too much money because of civil asset forfeiture and all of that shit, right? Like they just steal money and then spend it on new toys, and that's very much what happened there. But yeah, there are a couple of fucking robotic dogs, you know.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of the heralding of the apocalypse. And the next step is Chinese kickboxing robots, and then from there, obviously, we have total world domination.
Yes, it's a straight line, is what it is. That's exactly the entire Chinese army is about to be replaced by those kickboxing robots, and I tell you, we are in trouble. We only have a couple of dogs to fight them, so you know we need to get more robotic, very expensive robotic dogs. God damn it. Oh, God. Okay, so from here we get to what has been one of the more enjoyable stories from the last week for me, but I think it was markedly less enjoyable for Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson participated in a debate with 20 atheists. Let's have a look at how JP got along.
Do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
Jordan Peterson's not cut out for that because his kind of analysis is nuanced. Even though the legacy media and the haters see Jordan Peterson as some kind of bombastic man-hammer, unable to comprehend or contend with the complexity of modern emergent dynamics around gender and sexuality. He's a Jungian. He's interested in deep sigils and signifiers, the nature of reality at depth, a kind of Jungian topography of archetypes. So if you say to him, do you believe in an all-loving God or whatever, he'll go, what do you mean believe? I don't know. What do you mean believe? Believe?
Yeah, now, what actually happened there is trademark Jordan Peterson debate tactics, where whenever he's cornered by a question he doesn't want to answer, he tries to bog the conversation down in endless definitions of terms. And I'm sure if I said that to his face, he'd say, well, what do you mean by definition? And so on until the end of time, right? That's just... he's just stalling for time the entire way through. I am curious, Rob, have you seen any of this little debate that Jordan Peterson
I actually have. I did watch some of this. And I clicked into it because I saw that it was originally titled One Christian versus 20 Atheists. And apparently he was very upset about that and had it changed to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. And that piqued my curiosity, and I watched some of it. And it's so infuriating. It's sophistry, and also weirdly he seems very riled and kind of mean. He's like this mean, riled old man.
Oh yeah, he's already agitated.
He's agitated. He's not on the Xanax anymore. I'll tell you that. And he's just
missing those benzos, man.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it wasn't too bad. And he singularly fails to pin his colours to a single mast. I think at one point he says that what belief is, or what is, I'm going to get it wrong, something about prayer, worship, and belief are all the same thing or something, and that is what most people think that those definitions are. And again, we're on to definitions because that's all we talk about. And it's just, if anyone's got a spare 20 minutes, it's worth about that much, but it's 2 hours long. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, normally I do find these types of things absolutely infuriating to watch because they are usually dealing with people on entirely separate planes of reality. Like, Sam Cedar's recent one was a good example of that, as well as, like, COVID denialists trying to argue with an actual medical doctor. And at the end of it, everyone's made a mess and no one's really the wiser. Except in this case, I will say it basically turns into Jordan Peterson getting bitch-slapped for a couple of hours, which is its own special kind of satisfaction when it occurs. Now, obviously, like, we're in such separate realities that the two opposing sides can have looked at the same conversation and both consider themselves the victor. So I was pretty curious what the alt-right would be considering, the winning moment for Jordan Peterson out of this particular debate, because I didn't see many wins for him. And I should preface this clip by saying that, as you said, the original title of the clip was One Christian versus 20 Atheists, which is the premise that the atheists were invited to engage with, but throughout, Jordan Peterson refused to define himself as a Christian, which caused a few problems, and so they had to change it. And so let's watch one person trying to press Jordy Peets on this issue before roundly kicking his ass, and then we get Russell's reaction.
It to be true.
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if you believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it.
Okay. So you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Not really, no.
Okay. So then,
How would you define belief? Something you say?
Okay, so I explain. Like, I could believe it is the case that this pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your life.
Don't be so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life.
How much do you know about me? I didn't lie to save my career. I didn't lie to save my clinical practice.
Would you lie to like save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
No, can there ever be a circumstance logically that lying could save someone?
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic and you're trying to protect them, would you lie to like the Nazis?
I would have done everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that situation to begin with. It's a hypothetical, and it's not answerable.
Hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like that because it's far.
Did you
Don't play games.
I'm not playing games. I'm just asking if you ate it today.
I just told you I would do everything that I could to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany and trying to protect people that you care about, like there could be a Jewish friend that you have and you want to protect them.
I think you should
have
just
them
give
in your
up
attic.
on that line of questioning.
But like, okay, again, you're not answering this hypothetical because you know it shows that you clearly would lie to save
I'm
someone's life.
answering it in
Obviously,
a
that's
manner
not
you...
I don't like watching that very much.
Yeah, because he lost and he's your mate.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah, it's not fun to watch your good friend have his ass handed to him. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Jordan Peterson was just like outing himself as a Nazi. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what was happening. It was like, yeah, anyone who lived in Nazi Germany and was protecting Jews was steeped in sin. Like, either way, I'm now officially not so sure that Jordan Peterson would be willing to lie to protect anyone he cares about from their immediate murder. So that's fun. That's
Certainly
new.
not. He's made that clear. He's made that clear. It's stunning. I wouldn't put myself in that situation. Yeah, okay, but let's say you were in that situation. I wouldn't put myself in that. All right, let's say you were.
I'd make sure to never get there. I would either have fled or I would be a member of the Nazi party, probably highly ranking. Is what would happen. You're like, yeah, well, one of those things is believable. Oh, like just the bit about, I would lie about this pen, and you'd probably do the same. Don't be so sure.
Yeah. What do you know about me? What do you know about me? I would never lie about a pen.
Oh God, yeah, it is 2 hours of that. It's 2 hours of just that timbre of conversation. Like, oh my God, you're so hostile, so unnecessarily hostile throughout the whole thing.
You can tell he lost as well because he didn't start crying when Jordan Peterson thinks he's winning. He sheds some tears, and there were no tears. He just got fluffed.
Yeah, no, he just got very red in the face throughout the whole thing. Okay, so now we're going to play a game, Rob. So Russell is going to give a somewhat accurate assessment of Jordan Peterson in this debate. Probably coming at it from a different direction to me, but still. Before pivoting away to another subject. Specifically, he's pivoting towards discussing another human being. And I want you to do your best to guess from this brief clip who Russell might be talking about, okay? So let's have a look.
What I feel like is senseless, endless sophistry and linguistic clattering. Like, where are we going with all of this stuff? Because there are people that are not so nuanced in their conversation as Jordan Peterson, that are able to access and direct, perhaps by circumstance, perhaps by divine, perhaps by anointment, very, very powerful forces.
Okay, so it's someone who's not as nuanced as Jordan Peterson, but can access and direct, perhaps by circumstance, perhaps by divine, perhaps by anointment, very, very powerful forces. Any ideas who you think it might be?
Well, it's either my neighbor Steve or Donald Trump.
Okay, both good guesses. And it is Steve! Yes! No. Steve! No, I'm happy you get to experience this the way I did, because I was listening to this sentence being like, who the fuck is he talking about? And it did not go the way I expected.
Perhaps by anointment, very, very powerful forces. Tommy Robinson has been released from prison. I've not watched this yet. He was there
Divine.
under a contempt of court charge, likely, and well, in fact, because of his documentaries about rape gangs and grooming gangs in the UK. He's been released. He's being charged with more crimes now. But I happen to know that, obviously, as you surely do too, that the UK is in a state of decline and corruption and in a kind of moral chokehold at the moment as a result of globalist centralism and a kind of capitulation to imperialistic ideals that we must surely oppose. And if anyone's going to oppose that with priapic, monosyllabic potency, it's Tommy Robinson.
Ugh.
I love that he's basically calling Tommy Robinson an idiot there. Like, priapic, monosyllabic potency. Like, yeah, he's an enthusiastic moron, you know? Like, monosyllabic. He can only speak in single syllables.
Sigils and symbols.
Yes.
Priapism is when you've got an erection that you can't get rid of, right?
Yes, so yeah. So it's
that's what he's calling Tommy Robinson.
Yes,
a big throbbing a strong English cock. Hey!
A big throbbing monosyllabic cock. That's Tommy Robinson.
But appointed by God, it's a heavenly cock.
Right, yes, yeah, exactly. So it turns out Tommy Robinson is the person who is not as nuanced as Jordan Peterson, which, who can access and direct, perhaps by divine or perhaps by anointment, very, very powerful forces. That divine Tommy Robinson, as he's otherwise known.
Look past the petty criminality, look past the race baiting, and you'll find a holy man.
Look past the sheer number of times that man has been in prison. I've mentioned before that Tommy Robinson got his contempt of court charge for repeatedly lying about a young Syrian boy despite being under a court injunction not to do so. But what's most fun for me about this is that supposedly Tommy Robinson, Britain First Tommy Robinson, English Defence League Tommy Robinson, according to Russell, well, that guy is going to be opposing imperialistic ideals, apparently. Like, yeah. The famous opponent of imperialism, Tommy Robinson.
I genuinely, I thought Donald Trump, because he said power, and also because, the Christians think they can sort of use him as a blunt instrument. I had no way of guessing that he was going to go to Stephen Yaxley Lennon. That was a true
to Tommy 10
shock.
names. Yeah.
Tommy 10 names.
So what is happening? So words just have no meaning. So let's get to Russell watching the actual clip of Tommy Robinson as he's come out of prison.
Let's have a look.
Our weapon is free speech. They can't allow it because if everyone can exercise.
I didn't expect that. Tommy Robinson's not been having a haircut while he's been doing his porridge. Let's get back into it.
Allow it because if everyone can exercise their free speech, if we have platforms for free speech, we can highlight their abuses. We can highlight their.
He's turned to the Lord. Jesus Christ's hands on Tommy.
We can highlight their corruption. On the 13th of September, we started organising United Kingdom rallies. I think the last one had over 100,000 people. We want to hold a free speech festival in London as a show of defiance. And at this free speech festival, it's going to be United Kingdom /MAGA/Mega. United Kingdom, because people, and I'm sorry in Scotland, I'm sorry Wales, I'm sorry Northern Ireland, it's going to be in our capital city again.
You keep it, mate. You keep
people coming from every corner of the globe. People, speakers from Australia, from Canada, from America, from Denmark, from Germany, from Holland, from Poland. We're not just uniting the kingdom, we're uniting the world. And London is going to be the centre for it.
The world?
It's going to be a festival of free speech.
Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. Turf Dog in the chat, sweet ass werewolf look. It does look like Tommy Robinson has come out of jail as Michael J. Fox's Teen Wolf. And I think this new Tommy Robinson era could be fascinating.
I mean, fascist rallies are fascinating in their own way, but I will say I find the ones that are happening while I'm alive much less fascinating and much more distressing because they're happening now. Also, yeah, Tommy Robinson just said he was going to unite the world. I'm like, wouldn't that make you a globalist? I'm just asking questions here, but you know, I did want to ask. Like, so I'm Welsh, so I have kind of less of an opinion. But how do you feel about "Make England Great Again"? You know, it's mega, mate. It's fucking mega.
It must. I mean, how many people do you reckon are actually part of that movement? It must be like 10 people on the internet.
Yeah, a couple of hundred maybe. Yeah, and a lot of bots. You know.
I like his list of uniting the world, because he said, sorry Northern Ireland, sorry Scotland, sorry Wales, so they're not in. And then he listed some European countries like Denmark, Poland, I know some of them, but nowhere near all of them. So we're uniting this very strange blend of some European countries and North America, but only the US, I think.
Yes,
and that's the world.
Just, it's based on which fascists he can book to come and speak. So I'm like, all right, so you know, fucking AFD are probably going to be there. You know, we're going to have all these shitheads. Right. But yeah, that'll be on your front door. So you know, stay indoors that day, Rob. Would be
free
my
speech
advice.
Festival. I might go.
Hell.
I might go. Do you think they've got freebies? Do you think I can wear merch?
I mean, unlikely is what I'm gonna say. You know, they might get you a free England flag, maybe, or you know, free tin of Stella Artois, Carling, something like that. You know, yeah. In any case, yeah, famous anti-imperialist Tommy Robinson is having a festival of free speech in London, which I do find fun because London is probably the most ethnically diverse place in the United Kingdom. Yeah. You know, it's like how being a white supremacist in the US must be really tough because there are so many black and brown people there. It's a very culturally diverse as a country. So like the white supremacists must just be vibrating with rage constantly. It's a terrible place to choose to be a racist, you know? Like,
yeah.
And as for Tommy Robinson's previous Unite the Kingdom rallies, there's no way he's ever come anywhere near 100,000 people showing up for him.
Great.
The best estimate from the one in London last year was thousands, and didn't even veer into 10,000, let alone 100,000. In fact, I'm quite sure if you added up every rally that Tommy Robinson has ever held, it wouldn't come to 100,000 people. And certainly not 100,000 different people. You might have the same attendees each time, you know.
I think so. Selection bias, for sure. You know, have a fry up, knock down a couple of cans, go and tag something up, maybe beat up some of the youth that don't look like you.
Yeah.
Jobs are good.
Shout about Muslims, and there we go, job done. And yeah, not to forget, his new teen werewolf look, as described, is entirely for the cameras. The guy's been in solitary confinement for a good chunk of his time in prison because he's a shithead and would likely get beaten up. But you are still allowed a barber in the UK, even in solitary. So he clearly just opted out so he could pull out his best Tom Hanks in Castaway look when he got out, you know? Like, look how tough I've had it. Like, nah, mate, you've just been lazy is what you've been. And also, yeah, fun thing there, Russell did mention that that Tommy Robinson has been charged again. Like, he's only just gotten out of prison and he's got to appear in court on the 5th of June, so in a couple of days, because he's been charged with harassment causing fear of violence against two men in August last year, two journalists, I think. So I'm like, yep, that sounds about right. So he may be back in prison pretty soon. I'm like, that's par for the course.
It's his natural habitat. It's okay.
Yeah, I imagine he's getting pretty comfy there by now. You know, spending a lot of time with his own thoughts. It's clearly doing him well. So now we get to a slightly stickier subject for Russell and the alt-right, which is Trump's apparent U-turn on Vladimir Putin, with Trump saying that Putin's gone crazy.
Let's have a look at Trump now, making the extraordinary declaration that Putin has gone crazy. Many people think that Putin's been crazy from the get-go. How is this going to lead to a peace deal? And is US withdrawal, I mean, I suppose ultimately if you're an American taxpayer, you want out of this war, right?
After a weekend of massive and deadly Russian strikes on Ukraine, President Trump overnight lashing out at Vladimir Putin.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Adding in a Truth Social post, Putin has gone absolutely crazy. It's a major shift from last week when the leaders held a 2-hour phone call. Trump calling it an excellent discussion, claiming peace negotiations would begin.
Do you, like me, vacillate between thinking there's a rawness to Trump that's incredibly refreshing and wondering if he's a tactical genius? Which one is it? Is this an incredibly nuanced and mathematical approach to politics, or is it a kind of very raw and primal expression of every thought and feeling?
It's that one. I'll take that one, please.
Moved so quickly. It was like a matter of moments, or at least weeks ago, that, there's a 2-hour conversation and it seems like a solution is in the offering. And now these very open and raw declarations that you can't deal with Putin. I suppose having just endured 4 years of Biden, in which we were plainly lied to about his capacity and ability to manage the levers of power, even seeing someone being explosive and contradictory is somewhat refreshing. You agree with that? I suppose it's difficult not to feel concerned about the radical vicissitudes from Putin's a good guy, we've got this thing under control, to he's crazy. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
It is pretty extraordinary. And I'm sort of veering between idle curiosity as to like what's changed. Like perhaps Putin has finally run out of patience with the orange idiot he's been propping up all these years. I'm like, that's a possibility. But then again, there's every chance that it's all just political theater and won't make one iota of difference, right? Who the fuck knows with these people? Nonetheless, like, hey, even if Trump has done a complete U-turn overnight about Vladimir Putin, at least Trump is explosive and contradictory in a refreshing way, unlike Joe Biden. Who was consistent.
The last thing we need is consistency. Like,
no, we don't need that.
We don't want to know what's coming. We need utter chaos.
We need someone who will yell, who is impulsive, who is in control of all of the military, and will make some pretty brash fucking decisions. That's who we need. We need to not know what's coming at any moment. That is what we want in a leader, because it's refreshing, Rob. It's refreshing. I do also love the alt-right's constant ability to swerve and make excuses for their guys acting like totally obvious morons. Like, God, is he just a raw idiot yelling things into a microphone, or is he actually playing some kind of 5D chess with mathematical precision that you and I couldn't possibly comprehend? It looks stupid, but actually it's genius. Like, it's the same shit they pull with Elon Musk constantly, and like, nah, just these people are idiots. They're incredibly wealthy idiots, but they are idiots. Like,
I do like the fact that they, even in their hypothesizing, they have to consider what is obviously the true answer. Is it the truth? Or, hold on, I've got a better one coming. Ready for the crackpot theory?
I've got a much more preferable alternative that fits my narrative. So, is he a moron or fucking tactical genius with nuance, that famously nuanced Donald Trump? Yes, that's the one. It's got to be that one. Oh, dear. So obviously, this is a tricky one for Russell to have to navigate here, but it's all right because he manages to stretch it just far enough so that it's actually all someone else's fault.
What extraordinary and complex mess we find ourselves in now. Ultimately, I suppose, as America becomes more and more focused on domestic issues, which, given that America is a national trading hub and in a sense now the capital and center of all Western power, an isolationist position is difficult to achieve if their economies are dependent on global trade relationships. And with the tariffs endlessly pouring outward and creating their own degree of complexity, America's withdrawal from military matters seems astonishing and extraordinary. And let me tell you, plainly, totally beyond my comprehension and ability to understand. But for Russia and Ukraine, it seems likely that a deal now comparable to the one on offer 3 years ago might ultimately be signed, meaning, in short, that all of the assurances that Biden offered, that America are in this for the long haul and that ultimately the Ukrainian people would be victorious, seems to be pretty hollow, and hundreds of thousands of lives have been lost to little or no great end.
Yeah, let's ignore all that other stuff we just said, because actually Joe Biden's words now ring a little bit hollow, and we're going to say that without acknowledging the fact that if territory is ceded to Russia, hundreds of thousands of lives will have been lost to little or no great end, thanks to Donald Trump capitulating to Putin. Like, yeah, we'll leave that part out, you know, where it's because of Trump entirely.
It's like just a second ago he was saying Biden was completely incompetent, but now he's responsible through his decisions, not incompetence, of backing Ukraine to the end. Now he's responsible for them signing some peace treaty. So he's both. Don't forget.
Yeah, he was Schrodinger's president. You know, he's both irresponsible and responsible at the same time. You know, both a senile, doddering guy, and also, you know, this incredible fucking head conspiracy theorist guy, you know, like chief of evil, head of the deep state, you know, Joe Biden. So yeah, it's both at all times. And yeah, anyone speculating as to what deal may or may not be signed between Ukraine and Russia at this moment is talking out of their ass. In this instance, the person that Russell was relying on for shit talking was Aaron Mate at the Grey Zone, Gabor Mate's son. Aaron Mate works for the same institution that insists 9/11 was actually carried out by the CIA, with zero evidence to support that theory, right? That was the first episode I ever covered of this shit, was dealing with them. What will actually happen with Ukraine and Russia is still anyone's guess at this point. I don't think the leaders of any of these countries can say with any degree of certainty at this point, let alone shitheads at the Grey Zone or Russell. Because yeah, as we've just seen, things appear to be able to change very, very quickly. You know, last week Putin's a great guy. This week he's gone crazy. He's killing people. I mean, he's been killing people the whole time, Don. But okay, you know?
That's kind of what he does.
That's his thing.
It's not news. This is. Yeah, he bombs people, he kills them, he throws them out of windows, he disappears them, he puts them into prison camps, and he gets rich.
Yeah. He gives us legitimate cause to use the word defenestrate. You know, not many people in history have actually allowed us to do that.
It's true. He's keeping it going. You know those word uses charts? It was declining. Putin came in. Whoop! We're all using it.
There we go. Defenestrate way back up there. Yeah, and of course, I don't want to ignore the fact that Russell, who wants maximal democracy and nationalism, just said that actually, yeah, isolationism in the USA is pretty difficult to achieve, isn't it? Because the USA is a trading hub dependent on interacting with the global economy. Like, he just said that out loud, and I'm 100% sure that next week he will go back to telling us that we should all live in tiny theocratic ethnostates, you know? Like, again, he doesn't need to pick he's just gonna run with both of them. Be like, fuck it, you know? Pick and choose.
Yeah, and try and gesture towards some tariff chat without obviously being able to back up any of it. I mean, at least he admitted that he can't understand it. Yeah, I wish he'd say that a bit more often.
Yeah, again, that is the most believable part of any of it. Anytime he's like, well, I don't know, I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Oh, dear, oh dear. So, Rob, how are we feeling about Stay Free with Russell Brand? Was this any better than last time?
He's not getting icon, is he? Not with this. He needs to kick up the quality a bit here. This is a bit shit. Sorry, Russ.
Sorry. Fair criticism. I'll say at least we didn't get any AI videos this time of you know, Donald Trump and Netanyahu in Gaza. That's something.
How about this, Al? Every
Yeah.
single video you just watched was AI.
Fuck. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm quite sure they use AI for all their thumbnail generation. I'm quite sure. Like you look at those and they look very AI artwork, like shitty AI artwork.
Well, of course, they're not paying for the premium.
No.
That'd be silly.
Get the free version and try and remove the watermark. You know, that's 100% what they're doing.
You get the other AI to remove the watermark. That way, you don't have to employ people to do it.
One
generates,
exactly.
one removes.
It's just layers of ChatGPT working against each other, you know, and eventually it shits out a terrible thumbnail of Joe Biden looking sinister for some reason. I'm like, God, man, the guy's not been president. Like, he's also going to be dead real soon. Like, let's just, do you need to? Can you just lay off for a little bit and present me with something at least somewhat based in reality? But no,
I know no. It was always like a weak target for me when they were, you know, commie Joe or whatever. And you're like, he's a doddering old man. He's not. You can't make him out to be this pantomime villain because he just doesn't have that much going on.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those things where, like, I through the course of doing this show have repeatedly been put in the position of defending Joe Biden, which I don't like, because like there are real problems. The man's an old fucking racist. There are genuine criticisms to level at Joe Biden throughout his career, but like any time you look at the claims that they're making, I'm like, nah, this is an old guy who genuinely cannot work past 3 p.m. because he needs to go and have a nap. Like that's what White House aides have reported. And I'm like, yeah, come on. Like,
I know.
What do you think he's doing?
I think if only Putin needed more naps, I think we'd be in a better place. Actually, the man hasn't had a nap in 15 years.
I think longer than that. It wouldn't surprise me if it's one of the many things he's banned upon pain of death in Russia. I think more sleep for Vladimir Putin would be good for all of us. Much more sleep, one might think, but
a very long sleep, and I don't.
A very long sleep. Yes, yes. Not that I'm making any suggestions, but lots of sleep would be good for all of us. You know, and also, you know, it's tough running a country. Take a break. You know, like tough running a dictatorship. You know, just being the one guy. You know, constantly having to change your staff over for fear of being poisoned and all of that stuff. You know, which that can't be fun. That's got to be a stressful existence at the end of the day. You know,
I would think so. Do you remember the long tables when he had the long tables for a while? It was like the manifestation of his paranoia laid bare for all the world to see.
Yeah. Just I remember him changing out his entire staff all at once, like 600 people or something, because he couldn't trust any of them. I'm like, yeah, it seems like you're having a great time, bud. It's like, how is the whole dictatorship thing going? Oh, is it not fun to, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? That whole situation.
Well, especially if you've just made 600 new enemies.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're Stormzy, that seems tough as well. That's a great album, though. Right. Thank you so much for coming on, Rob. Obviously, you are the host of the Bliss of the Abyss podcast. Is there anything else you want to plug while you're here?
Come and find me at robertnj.com for all of your voiceover needs.
Put the link in the description there.
Absolutely. And if you're applying to Hull College for their uptick intake this year, then send me a message and I'll put in a good word for you, because I did that voice so far.
You know what? I'm not applying to Hull College, but I might pretend that I am, just so I can hear your work. You know, just
lovely.
I need to hear it. I imagine it's very soothing and encouraging. That's what I'm anticipating, Rob.
Yeah, that's one accent. That's one accent that I can do. There we go.
Your own. Can nail that one. Or did you have to put on like a Hull accent? Like, did you
like
have
a
to put
slight
on like
Hull accent? I did one in my normal voice, and then they were like, it's a bit southern. Then I did one like really northern, and they were like, it's a bit northern. And so back
to Emmerdale, you know.
Yeah. You come to Hull College to study.
Lad. Yeah, good Yorkshire.
We got them computers. They didn't want that. So we kind of
wonder why. I would have been immediately convinced about, we've got them computers, we have. I felt like, yes, I'm coming, Hull College.
They stopped returning my calls. It was the strangest thing. Hull College. Join the journey. That's what they really wanted. They wanted the journey part rather than the journey.
All right. That's almost like more like Merseyside, you know, journey, you know, like veering into Scouse kind of territory, right? Coming off like
that's pretty good, mate.
Coming off like Stephen Graham, you know. I did live around there for a while, so I've got an advantage. Oh well, yeah. Thank you so much again, Rob. I'm gonna find this fucking this thing now of you sounding like this. They've got computers, you know. I'm literally just picturing Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. Is you know?
That's the brief.
Lovely bit of Wensleydale. That's what we all like. More cheese, awesome. Gromit. Yes, please. All right, thank you so much, Rob.
My pleasure, Al. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
And that's our show, everybody. Make sure you head to patreon.com/onbrand for additional content and an ad-free version of the show. And make sure you hit the links in the description for all of Rob's stuff as well. And I'm going to see if I can find that video of Rob doing a Hull accent or voiceover, whatever it is. I will find it. Either way, On Brand will be back next week. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you very much. I love you. Bye.
All right. I'm going to finish now because I'm hungry and I want to eat something. All right, bye.